Today we're going to talk about poisonous plants and what happens when you come in contact with them. In the US, there are three main plants that you don't want to come in contact with: poison oak, poison ivy, and poison sumac. One thing they all have in common is they all contain an oil called urushiol. Urushiol will trigger an allergic reaction to your skin, resulting in an itchy rash, which can appear within hours of exposure and last up to 30 days. A person can be exposed to urushiol by touching any part of the plant. After exposure, urushiol can easily be transferred to other objects, such as a shovel handle or your tractor steering wheel. Even downed game such as deer or hogs that regularly walk through poisonous plants can have their legs covered in urushiol sap. Just a tip: it's always a good idea to wear rubber gloves when handling wild game in the field, as it's very easy to get exposed by handling a recently harvested animal. Urushiol is found in all parts of these plants, including the leaves, the stems, and the roots, and can be present even after the plant has died. Remember, if you touch urushiol and then touch other objects such as a rake, you will transfer that oil to that object. And later on, when you go to use that rake, it may still have urushiol on it, and you can find yourself with a rash. Urushiol is absorbed quickly into the skin and can also be inhaled if these poisonous plants are burned. The smoke may expose the skin, nasal passages, throat, and lungs if inhaled. Urushiol can cause a very serious allergic reaction, so be very careful. Poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac are all found in the United States. Poison ivy grows as a vine, and in some northern states, you will find that it grows in the form of a shrub. For identification purposes, each poison ivy leaf will have 3 leaflets, hence the saying, "Leaves of 3, let it be." Poison oak looks a bit like poison ivy, although it's typically more shrub-like, and its leaves have more rounded shape, somewhat like an oak tree. Of note, poison oak is more common in the western part of the United States. Poison sumac grows as a woody shrub, each stem containing 7 to 13 leaves arranged in pairs. Poison sumac can be distinguished from the harmless sumac by its drooping clusters of green berries. Harmless sumac will have red berries that stand upright in clusters. Poison sumac is more common in wet and swampy areas. The symptoms of poison plant reactions are similar because they all contain the same chemical, urushiol, and symptoms generally occur in the following phases. First, the skin becomes red and itchy. Secondly, a rash will form on the skin, often in the pattern of a streak or patch. The rash then develops into red bumps or large oozing blisters. Most rashes caused by poison plants are mild and last from 5 to 12 days, but in severe cases the rash can last up to 30 days or longer. There are a few products on the market today that I would recommend you have on hand if you work in and around poisonous plants. First is a product called Tecnu, T-E-C-N-U. This product is sold in many local stores near you and is made to remove the urushiol that you may have come in contact with. I use this product every time I'm in the outdoors and working in and around poisonous plants. Just rub this product on the area of the skin you think you may have come in contact with a poisonous plant, and it will remove the urushiol from your skin. You can try to remove it several hours after coming in contact with a poisonous plant. If after several hours you see a rash starting to develop on your skin, it's time to use product number 2. This product is called Zanfel, Z-A-N-F-E-L. It washes away the urushiol that has become subdermal in your skin and will stop the itching and reduce the time it takes for the rash to dry up. Zanfel works by surrounding the urushiol and bonding with it and then washing it away from your skin. Just remember, the best way to avoid getting poison ivy is to stay away from it altogether. One remaining tip: if you don't have any of the products I just mentioned, it's always good to wash the exposed area as soon as possible after the exposure with warm soap and water. Just remember, use a washcloth every time to scrub. Don't just wash with your hands. Actually, warm soapy water with a washcloth will remove a good majority of the ursoil, if not all of the ursoil. So keep that tip in mind. Well, folks, I hope that segment helps you out here. I think this is really good information, and it's good to know what these plants look like. You always want to avoid these plants. Keep these tips in mind. That ursoil can be transferred from your hand to just about any object, and you can, at a later point, find yourself being exposed. And always remember, when handling game, those animals are walking through poison ivy almost all of the time. You grab a leg with your bare hand of that animal and drag them out of the woods, there's a good chance you have ursoil on your hand. So keep that tip in mind. Wear rubber gloves and just be careful out there.
Hi folks, it's Luke Clayton, and we're going to make some chili. You know, for probably 35 years I have made a chili in a certain way. I use wood smoke, I smoke the chili, and contrary to many of my fellow Texans, I put beans in my chili. Well, a great friend of mine, Roger Foltz, won 2 of the Terlingua chili cooking contest a few years ago. Placed first place in one of them and second place in the other. Now, Roger gave me some of the chili kit, if you will, from Pendry Seasonings in Fort Worth. Comes to find out, there's a little bit of history to this. Pendry's is the oldest family-owned company in Texas. They make all kinds of spices. You can find them online. Pendry's spices, you know. Well, this kit is that's offered through Pendry's is the exact recipe that Roger used to win these chili cooking contests at Terlingua with a few years ago. So I'm going to break away from my old habit of making smoked chili over a wood fire, and honestly, this looks a lot easier. I'm going to kind of show you step by step how it's done, but the only thing, Roger, if you're listening and I'm watching, and I know you are at some point, I'm going to use some wild ground pork. It's good pork, it's good meat. It has about, I'm going to say about 80-20 fat to lean consistency. So I'm going to use that, and not going to put any beans in it, and I'm not going to use any wood smoke. So folks, you know, kind of an interesting deal. I took some notes on this, but back in 1870, Mr. DeWitt Pendry arrived in Fort Worth and started this spice company. I mean, it's really a lot of interesting history. And by 1890, he was selling to local, I guess, cafes and restaurants, you know, his spice blends. But this spice blend that you can get at Pendry's, it's called Attitude Adjustment. That's what you look for. You know, it's pre-made for different poundages of meat. So what we're making is for 2.5 pounds of beef, of course, but we're using the ground pork. So a lot of history behind this, and Roger, anybody that can win the 2 Terlingua, win first place in 1 Terlingua contest and second place the same day, my cap is off to you, buddy. So I'm cooking your chili right now. Let's get over here to the old camp stove, and that's something that I usually don't cook on. I usually cook on wood, but we're doing it on a camp stove, so let's go check it out. Okay, my friends, here are the 4 bags of Pendry's Attitude Adjustment, the exact recipe used by my buddy Roger Foltz to win first place in one of the Terlingua chili cooking contest and the second place in another one of the contests on the same day. Now, the first 2 packets, these 2 right here, go in with the tomato sauce and the beef stock there. So we're going to put these in a pot. I'll show you the pot, what we're doing right now. So we have to dissolve these in with the beef stock. I've actually about 2 cans I went ahead and put in that, and then the tomato sauce. Okay, my friends, we have the first 2 packets of the ingredients with the chicken broth. Folks, I'm sorry, I said chicken broth there, but it should be beef broth. Actually, Roger recommends using some chicken broth too if you want to, but in this case I used all beef broth. I'm really anxious to see how it turned out. As the instructions denote, you go ahead and fry your of ground meat, and this is actually ground pork. I know Roger is going to say, "Where's your ground beef?" But I've got a bunch of ground pork. It'll be good chili. It's about the same fat content as the beef that Roger recommends. So right here is our ground beef, and we're going to simmer all the ingredients together a little bit, and then we're going to follow instructions, and we'll be right back with you. Well, folks, we have been simmering this for about 25 minutes, and according to instructions, this 4th bag of attitude adjustment goes in just before we get ready to eat it. So there it is. All of the goodness is in there. Let's make sure and stir it up so that it'll blend well with everything else. And then we're going to put this in a bowl with some crackers, and we're going to sample it. What do y'all say? Look at this. Now look at the color of that. Haven't tasted it yet, but I can smell it. Other than the smoke, the way I usually cook chili, I think I'm going to like this. Well, friends, I wish we had a smell-o-vision option here on this channel, because this chili smells absolutely awesome. My hat is off to my buddy, Mr. Roger Foltz, that came up with this recipe. Pendry's in Fort Worth, you know, you can search them out. That's where you can get some of this awesome chili. And I think I'm going to put some crackers on it and a little sharp cheese, cheddar cheese maybe, and then just a little bit of onion, and dive in.
Today we're back at the DSC offices, and I'm here with Mr. Carson.
Larry, how are you?
I am doing absolutely great. Carson, tell us a little bit about DSC chapters. I know we've got several scattered around, and there's always an opportunity for somebody to join a chapter, or there's also the opportunity to start their own chapter.
That's a fact. So our chapter system started in 2015. We've grown to 13 chapters around the country. Constantly, part of my job is adding to that, so constantly working on adding to that. So expanding the chapter system. And then the other half of my job is taking care of the chapters that we currently have. And so I'm a full-time employee here at DSC, and my full-time job, aside from starting new chapters, is taking care of the ones we currently have. And so we paid a lot of due diligence and time and effort into that. All of our chapters are part of the DSC family. It runs similar to other conservation organization chapter systems. We have a few key details that really separate us and really make our chapter system special. First, our chapters contribute less back to DSC and the DSC Foundation than like conservation orgs. That number is 25%. That comes in the form of 2 checks, a 5% check, and a 20% check. The 5% check comes to DSC, and that's used on things such as admin, insurance, etc. Now the 20% check comes to the DSC Foundation, and from that check is, our chapters get to pick a exact project where that 20% check goes to, so they know exactly where their money is going. Our chapters keep the remaining 75% of the net of the largest fundraiser, and 100% of any other monies earned throughout the rest of the year. So in effect, our chapters keep or direct 95% of the funds that they raise. So that's huge. Secondly, a big key component of our chapter system is the emphasis on community conservation, making a difference locally. We're a pretty lean and mean staff here at DSC. We don't have the ability to make an impact in New Mexico or Connecticut or Georgia, etc. So we have our chapters. Our chapter system is there to make a difference locally and impact their communities for the betterment of conservation, education, and advocacy.
How do they find out more becoming a member of a local chapter? Of course, DSC National as well, too.
Absolutely.
But how can they find out about where these chapters are, and in case maybe they live in those areas, and then also, what about starting one?
So the best way to find out about our chapter system, if you don't want to pick up a phone or you don't want to send an email, you just want to kind of just take your time and just look at it on your own timeline. The best way to do that is to go to our website, which is www.biggame.org,
and there will be a little chapter tab in the top half of the screen there, and you just click on that. There's a chapter directory, so you can find out if there's a chapter in your area and how to get involved and things like that. And then if there's not a chapter in your area that you think there should be, you can, right below that little chapter directory tab, there's learn more about starting a chapter. And so you can click on that link and it'll tell you everything that I kind of just told you, a little bit more detail, and you'll be able to find out more. And if you still have questions after that, or you didn't quite find what you're looking for, you're always welcome to contact me. My email is carson@biggame.org, and that's carson@biggame.org. Or you can call me at 469-986-9135, and we can have a chat, and I'd be happy to answer all of your questions and see if it's the right fit for you.
Carson Keys, thank you so very much.
Thanks,
forward to being back here with you again. And folks, if you're not already a member of DSC, you need to be. And as Carson just said, it's biggame.org. You can go there about membership as well, but particularly to learn about the chapters.
Yes,
Carson, thank you. I know you need to get out here because I think you got a fishing trip or something coming on, if I were guessing.
Something like that. No, I wish it was.
Thank you, Carson.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks for your time.
We're going to wrap this week's show up with a little spot and stalk with my bow. We had some hogs show up at the feeder at camp, and I was just finishing my morning coffee, getting ready to do some daily chores, and hogs showed up. So I decided to grab my bow, grab my camera, and go see if I can't put a stalk on them. I actually got up on them, and, well, I'll let you see what happens.
And a special thanks to these fine sponsors: Air Force Air Guns, B&B Charcoal, Dallas Safari Club, Hornaday, Pyramid Air, Taurus Firearms, Sightmark, Smokin' Tex, Snaplock Hunting Blinds, TRHP Outdoors, and Striper Express.